Hello and welcome to episode 222 of the Thinking LSAT podcast in Vienna, Virginia. This is Ben Olson. With me is Nathan Fox in LA?
No, I'm in South Lake Tahoe. I will, and then today, as soon as we get done recording this, I'm going to drive to Reno, and then I'm going to hopefully get on an airplane, if TSA lets me, with my expired driver's license.
Yeah. So it just expired yesterday.
Yeah, I fucked up. Yesterday was my birthday. Forgot that my license was expiring. I have an appointment at the DMV this coming week to get my new driver's license with, the real ID that they're going to require.
Oh, yeah.
And but anyway, yeah, I just spaced. I had my passport. I had a buddy in LA go get my passport and mail it to me.
Oh, okay.
But he mailed it to my buddy's P.O. box here in South Lake Tahoe with my name on it.
Oh,
and the USPS just was like, "Oh, this name's not on this P.O. box," and sent it back. And I didn't realize that until yesterday. So anyway, I'm gonna try to get on a flight today with my expired driver's license, my Costco Visa that has my picture on the back of it, and my ski pass, which has my picture on it.
What? Do you think they'll actually take those other things, like, legitimately?
We were Googling it yesterday, and it was like, if you forget your ID, TSA still might let you on, but if you have this, what? So I'm going to bring as much documentation as I can. Like, I'm going to print out my, bank statement and tax return, and I'm just going to have a bunch of documents and an expired driver's license.
Sure, yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm curious if they'll even catch it, and if they do... I mean, the guy's got to be looking at it and be like, okay, wait, this expired yesterday?
Yeah, and I'm hoping I'll just be able to go, yeah, I'll tell him, just tell him what happened.
Yeah.
If they don't let me on, thanks, man. If they don't let me on, then you're going to be on your own in our class in New York.
Oh, okay, great.
But whatever.
So what's it like, breaking into the 50s?
Yeah. I kind of feel like I'm in my 50s. I went skiing for the first day of first time in a while.
Okay.
A few days ago, and I'm like still sore from it. That shit's hard. Very out of shape. But it's had a good birthday. Had some pizza. Went and saw a movie with my buddies. It was great.
Cool, man. Today on the show, we're going to talk about the difference between necessary assumptions and necessary conditions, as well as sufficient assumptions and sufficient conditions. People sometimes get those mixed up. We have a testimonial, apparently. We have a Pearl versus Turd, which is nice. We have 2 public announcements. We have a question about dual law degrees and another personal statement from an international applicant. Yeah, dude, this will come out on Monday, the 9th. 10 days from now, you'll get your November LSAT score if you took that test. And it will be too late to register for the January LSAT because that registration was last Tuesday. The January LSAT is around the corner on the 13th. But you can still register for the February LSAT, which is January. Well, the February LSAT is on February 22nd. That should be easy to remember since this episode is 222, and the February LSAT will be on 222. But the registration deadline for that is Tuesday, January 7th. I'm curious if these registration deadlines persist and continue to happen on Tuesdays, but in any case, you have a few weeks to make that decision. Email the show at help@thinkinglsat.com. Send us your selfies if you're so inclined. Leave us a review on iTunes. We always appreciate that. And yeah, do you have anything to add to that exciting schedule? It'll be too late, but we will be doing the personal statement workshop this weekend in New York City. And if you came this past weekend, I hope you had fun. It's kind of weird talking about the future from the past.
Yeah. I hope I was there. I hope I made it. Did you see that they extended the registration deadline for the January test this week?
Wait, what? Huh?
Yeah,
no.
It's passed again now. It's passed.
Oh, but okay. What happened?
I only know because I follow them on Twitter, but they extended it like by a day or two. And they sent out like a couple tweets about it, that they had extended it by a day or two.
Why? What? I mean, that's great. I think it should be a lot later than it is, but I don't understand the like marginal change. Oh, 2 more days. Yeah, go ahead. You can have another day if you missed it. Why do you think that is?
Maybe they shouldn't even have a deadline. Maybe they should just have like first come, first serve type of thing. Like once it's full, to encourage people to, because I mean, I know obviously what they're doing is they want to get certainty. So they set a deadline, but then if they didn't have enough applicants, then they extend the deadline.
Yeah.
But then they've had so many problems recently that it seems pretty clear that they actually need to have fewer people registered so that they can actually get their shit together, right?
Yeah.
Like they need to have fewer sites, it seems like, and make sure that they're going to actually be able to see people, because we're just hearing nonstop disasters right now.
That's right.
I mean, I just got an email yesterday from somebody who, just like the horror story of like they had accommodations, first of all, which I do think having accommodations causes a lot of these problems, because you're just getting special treatment, and it's, harder harder from LSAC's perspective to give you the special whatever.
Oh, I totally understand. Yeah.
Yeah. But so this person had accommodations, and they were emailed and told, hey, your November LSAT is not going to be, it wasn't on November, whatever it was. It was on, supposed to be on December. It might have been yesterday. This person, this candidate, emailed, followed the instructions, because the instructions from the LSAC are always like, hey, make sure you check in with your proctor to, double, triple confirm that you're going to be there for your special test.
That's for accommodated test takers.
For accommodated, yes. Yeah. Not for everybody else, for accommodated.
Yep.
Well, I mean, but by the way, read the fucking shit that the LSAT sends you, even if you're not accommodated. Like, read it, because there could be fine print, So this person did that, followed up with the proctor, and yep, you're all good. Yeah, you're going to be taking it on December 4th or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Shows up on December 4th, and they're like, no, we don't have you on the list. Oh, wait. Yeah, we have you as a no-show for the regular test on November whatever.
Like, I'm not a no-show, buddy. Wow.
I don't know. We just, this last test, they had, like, again, just horror stories of canceling the test, sending people emails, canceling the test on the night before the test. And they had test centers where everybody showed up and they were like, oh, sorry, the proctors didn't show up.
Yeah, I'm surprised how many test centers had that. I think it was like at least 5 that I heard of, right? I don't know, it might have been more, but that's pretty crazy. I don't remember any of that happening before.
LSAC continues to, like, they are acknowledging to us, right? They send us emails of like, because they want us to help them, like, calm everyone down, which is not our job. But so they tell us, like, well, we had a couple issues that were basically not our fault. And, it
was
like
due to logistical, shipping.
Weather and shipping and also human error, and but then they continue also to, like, sort of publicly, they pretend like nothing is wrong. They've got it's a very Trumpian style of communication that they've got, where they're just like, oh, well, it was essentially perfect.
Yeah.
Well, except for these, like, hundreds of people that got screwed. Yeah. Anyway, like we've said this, like, last time, you need to go ahead and register. If you want to take it in February, you've got until Tuesday, January 7, to register. And then the test is on February 22nd, and you may or may not be actually taking it on February 22nd. They might be telling you, oh, no, actually, sorry, you're going to have to take it on the 28th.
Yeah.
And they might not tell you that until the day before the test. So, good luck.
You know what? I think, given your earlier suggestion, they should do this. They should say, hey, look, we're going to limit the number of people per test center to X. And if they're worried that, hey, now they can't administer the test for all those folks, just offer a paper-based test to anyone else who signs up after that until the deadline. Like, and then you know that the number of digital devices or tests out there is limited to whatever, 20,000, whatever number you can handle. And kick ass on those and just do paper for the rest, because you figured out how to do paper a long time ago.
Yeah. Anything to stop I don't think they have any idea how much they're inconveniencing the people that are being last minute rescheduled.
Yeah.
It's not a small thing.
Their attitude too is strange, right? It's like, oh, well, you can take it on this time, or you can take it at this other time, or we'll just give you a refund. Like somehow that refund makes everybody like good again. Oh, well, you didn't pay anything. Yeah, well, I set up my whole life around this date and scheduled planes and
hotels and planes and got off of work and rescheduled my entire life. They have no idea, it seems like, how seriously people take it. They think that like the 4 free score reports is a adequate compensation. It's just not even close. But all right. Well, should we dive into this rest of the agenda?
Yeah. Oh, the agenda? Okay. So anyways, let's jump into this testimonial. Wow. Anonymous wrote in. Hi, all. I wanted to reach out to sincerely thank you for everything you did to help me on my law school journey. Oh,
don't need the sincerely there.
No.
General rule of writing, don't put ly adjectives. Just get rid of all of them.
Yeah, think twice about words like
or
very.
Adverb.
Yeah. I write them all the time, and then I just go in and I'm like, oops, I don't know why I said that.
Oh, yeah, I say them all the time. I constantly talk about it. It's like, say them, Mm-hmm. And then, once you write it, you should edit that out. But anyway, thank you for your... go on.
Sincerity.
Keep complimenting us.
We're just going to hover on this for a while. Nathan and Ben, 18 months ago, I was bored as shit at my internship, I realized that there was no way I could work in HR for my career. Okay. After looking for a change and deciding that law school was actually the right path for me, again, you don't need actually, I started studying for the LSAT. I was terrible at it. I like the fact that this paragraph is one sentence, by the way. So, nice. I am a big podcast listener, so I wanted to see if any crazy person put together a podcast on the LSAT to help me. After a brief search, I found the Thinking LSAT podcast. Fast forward 10 months after studying, using your books and methods, I brought my score up to a 174.
Wow.
To put this in perspective, I got 1,200 on the SAT. So that was fine, but I was just average. You guys helped me to realize I could hone my intelligence, study hard, and go from an average applicant to the one that could get into the best law schools in the country. Matt, Eleanor, Ben, and Nathan, this summer, I was ready to apply to law school, but I couldn't think of what to write my personal statement about. I had written 5 or 6 shitty drafts on terrible topics. I needed help. As an avid listener of the podcast, I knew your PS service was top-notch, but I didn't know if I could prioritize it with all the other expenses I had. Another single-sentence paragraph. I am so glad I did. Wow, I wonder who this is. I don't know who this is. After a few weeks of going back and forth with y'all, receiving harsh and constructive feedback, we had a great topic and a polished personal statement. I just found out that I got a full tuition scholarship to, redacted, barring admission to HYS, that's Harvard, Yale, Stanford, if you're curious. I will be attending a great law school for next year for free. Wow, that's cool. Before y'all, I would have been a much less savvy applicant who would have been thrilled with my initial 158. I would very likely have applied in March of last year and be paying full price at a much lower ranked law school if it wasn't for you guys. I hope you all know that you have changed the trajectory of my future. Thank you so much. I will be forever grateful for what you have done for me. Thanks again. Anonymous. Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I am very curious who this is now, although we have so many people going through the personal statement process, right? I'm better at remembering stories than names necessarily.
Yeah. Well, we redacted some of this, it seems like, so that we don't blow up their personal situation too much. But yeah, that's amazing. We have no way of knowing what the value of the personal statement service actually is.
Yeah.
Like we know what a 174 is worth.
Yeah.
But we don't know whether the same scholarship offer would have happened without our help on the personal statement.
Hard to say.
It's impossible to say. There's literally there is no possible way. You can't submit the same applicant 2 times in the same cycle with 2 different personal statements. And barring that, we can't. The only thing we ever have is anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
But what I do know is I know how people write, and I know how I write, and I know how Ben writes, and I know that your shit is much better after Ben and I had our hands on it. I mean, that's just it's not the same at all.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad, like we charge a lot of money for it because we are pretty sure it's worth it.
We spend a lot of time on it.
We do.
Holy cow. I can't believe how many times we go back and forth. I mean, it's probably I've estimated 40 before on the show, but some of these folks, I think it's maybe in the hundreds, especially when you consider the work that Eleanor did and now Adriana and Leslie do.
Yeah.
In addition to the work that we do. So,
yeah. Well, and it's even like they get it to a point where, like we look at it early on and then they go back and forth. The client goes back and forth with Adriana or back and forth with Leslie, and it gets closer and closer and closer. And then we get to a point where it's like, okay, we think this is a final draft. And then I'll go in and look at it again and I'll be like, well, okay, except for these 10 different edits and 10 other comments and questions. And what about this? And what about that? And
what about that word?
Yeah. And then we go through another whole cycle with it, and you do the same thing to it. And then it comes back to me eventually. And we just go back and forth until we're really actually happy with it. So yeah. That's why it costs a lot. You can go to thinkinglsat.com, by the way, if you want to learn more about the personal statement service and our admissions consulting stuff.
You know what I want to do? I want to do this test that you're talking about. Like, you can't do it perfectly, but what about this? What if you took an applicant, or maybe we just applied ourselves because no one wants to do this, but we take their original personal statement, let them make it as good as they can make it, and then say, okay, great, thank you. And then apply to 20 schools, and you divide them up into 10 schools each, right? And try to pair the schools with similarly ranked schools as best as possible so that you get 10 similarly ranked schools and then 10 more similarly ranked schools, and then send that application off. One with the
BU, BC,
original person. Yes, exactly.
USC, UCLA, get them kind of close to each other. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Pair them up. Yeah.
And then look at the numbers. Say, okay, well, how much money did you get with these 10? How many acceptances did you get with these 10? And how many did you get with the original 10? That would be interesting. Especially, I mean, maybe they're close, right? But maybe they're dramatically different. And at some point you have to say, okay, how much of that is randomness and how much of that is...
We need a guinea pig. We need somebody with I want it to be like a top applicant. I want it to be like a 170 type of an applicant. And
so you
then
can just go for the top 20.
We need somebody who's willing to be a guinea pig with their career.
Yeah. I mean, for 10 of those schools, I mean, you're still applying to 10 others with the best you can apply with.
And we'll pay for your application.
Yeah.
For the ones that you send the shitty statement to?
Yeah.
I have to think about this.
I'm willing to, how much is it? $45 times?
Well, plus all the application fees. Still,
man, that would be very interesting. And like any good, conglomerate, if the results are unappealing, we can just bury it.
Yeah. If the results don't turn out to be what we want them to be, you'll never hear about it on the show.
No, if they turn out how they don't, if they don't turn out how we expect, we might have to do some serious soul searching.
Oh, of course. No, of course. Well, anyway, email help@thinkinglsat.com if you want to volunteer to be our guinea pig for this.
Yeah.
I'm still worried that the sample's going to be too small. 10 and 10 is just not a big sample.
It is a small sample.
We need more like 100 and 100. We need to do this with like 10 different applicants.
Yeah, what if you did it 10 and 10, but you did it with, a bunch of applicants? Then you look over the data. Huh.
That's the only way to possibly know.
Yep.
Because you can't, if you can't ask nobody's ever going to be able to give you anything other than anecdotal evidence.
Yep. Oh, I got accepted. I got this full ride. Isn't that exciting? Oh, I didn't get accepted. I didn't get a full ride. But why? Because your numbers? Because when you applied? But that would be pretty cool if you submitted all those applications at the exact same time, exact same candidate. Everything is the same except their personal statement. Yeah. I want to do this actually. Pretty badly. Because I don't think anyone else has done this, right? What other admissions folks have done that?
What if don't you think the admissions people are mobbed up with each other?
I do think that they are, but do you think that they're
comparing
what are the
personal
chances
statements?
They're oh, we got this applicant Aaron, and can you believe his personal statement? Yeah, it was amazing, right?
And the other one's no, it sucked. What? It was garbage.
Or maybe the original was amazing.
Yeah, totally.
But anyways, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that they would. I don't think that they're that observant.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, email help@thinkinglsat.com. This is an idea that needs to be workshopped for a while.
Yes, yeah. Let us know if you're interested. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, I've been writing all these explanations for the Demon. Thank you to everybody who has been hitting the ask button in the LSAT Demon. I really appreciate that. To be clear, if y'all don't know, the Demon has an explanation for every question ever. And if it doesn't, all you have to do is hit the ask button and we'll make one. So thank you to all of the Demon users who have been hitting that ask button. Hopefully we've been responding to you in a timely fashion. Yeah. I had a real weird question pop up. Oh, you know what? I actually had 2 real weird questions pop up this week. And it made me, every time I see these questions, and Ben, I'm sure you'll recognize these questions.
Yeah,
I fantasize about writing a book that's like the 10 weirdest LSAT logical reasoning questions, or I don't know, maybe it need to be like 50, but
sure,
the weirdest LSAT logical reasoning questions. And so I wanted to brainstorm with you, Ben, about which ones you thought were the weirdest.
Okay, yeah. So one of them that came to mind when you mentioned this earlier was the one that has to do with vision. And
the bees?
Yeah. And that's one of those ones, I think we've talked about on the show before maybe, but where early on when I was teaching, I would kind of explain it to people, but also kind of have a shoulder shrug, kind of be like, yeah, that's the answer. And doesn't it make sense? Ha ha ha, let's move on. Yeah. But it's one where it makes total sense now. I can hands down see why the correct answer is way better than the other 4, and thus 100% correct, even though it doesn't strengthen it very much.
Yeah, I think when I was writing, that one came up a couple months ago. I was writing an explanation for that one, and I was having that same moment of being like, oh yeah, I remember when I used to basically bullshit my way through this and kind of fake it.
Yeah.
Or I used to just be to the class well, I mean, it's a bad question. It doesn't really, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's a bad question. That's a...
I do still say don't worry about it to a handful of these because, they are very memorable outliers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that bees vision one does make a lot more sense. So here's the other ones that I have on my list. And people can email help@thinkinglsat.com if they want to participate in making this list of weirdest questions. You know what? We could at least make a lesson in the Demon Premium. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be fun.
Yeah, we can look. We'll make that happen for sure. That would just be fun to have them all in one place. Yeah. But just yesterday, I was writing an explanation for the Han purple.
Okay. Yeah, Han purple. Yeah.
That glass one.
Yeah.
Which is so strange because it's a strengthened question and the correct answer just barely strengthens it by
that's the same as the bees.
By circumstantial.
The bees barely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Han purple one is clearly just circumstantial evidence. It's such a weak strengthener.
Yeah.
But the other four are like, don't even conceivably strengthen it at all. And so, you know, you have to get there by process of elimination, right?
Yeah.
Then the two that really, though, these are the ones that are like hilariously bad.
Yeah.
The one with the study in a hospital where they're assessing people's immune system strength and how how their immune system strength changes over time. Watching comic videos.
Yes, I like that one. Yeah.
And it's impossible to follow the argument on that question.
Yeah.
It's actually not a hard question. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a 5 out of 5 difficulty question. It is a hard question, except for it's not a hard question if you're just appropriately critical of that argument. Because the problem with the argument, it makes this bizarre 180 degrees completely wrong assumption. It assumes that people with a greater tendency to laugh in the first place laughed less when they were watching these comic videos. And it's just, it's like impossible to even follow. I didn't watch any of the videos, Ben, but you had like 5 videos for that one question just stacked up, because clearly people have just been asking you about it, right? Over and over and over and over and over. So anyway, now in the Demon, there's going to be a written explanation from me and, 5 videos from Ben. If you want to see Ben struggle to explain it to the class.
It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre one. And I've actually, when I think I don't know if I've mentioned it in those videos, but I have thought that like when arguments are like slightly flawed, right? They can be hard for people to see the flaw because it's subtle, so they don't see it and they just kind of buy into the conclusion. They're like, yeah, this seems like good enough. And then you can make the flaw a little more glaring, and then people start to see it and they go, oh, that sucks, that's stupid. But then there's this other extreme where you make the flaw so like...
It's like the Laffer curve.
I don't know what that is. Laffer curve?
The Laffer curve is this, I think, partially debunked, theoretically correct, but partially debunked theory of economics, where it's about how much government revenue comes from different rates of tax.
Okay.
And so if the tax rate is 0,
yep,
clearly the government makes nothing, right? But if the tax rate is 100,
okay,
the government also gets nothing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right? Because nobody would ever work or report income if the tax rate was literally 100%. And so then there's a curve in between the two, 0 and 100, where the government optimizes its revenue, at a certain point. And it's got, I don't know, it's somewhere in the middle, right? It's like, well, if you have a 50% tax rate, then people are still going to work because they get to keep part of the money, but the government's going to get a lot of it. So the government makes a lot of money. So it's anyway, that's the Laffer curve. But I see what you're saying with the difficulty, right, of these questions. Yeah. You get my analogy?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like you go, it gets so wonky that it's like you said, people can't even follow the reasoning. It's like, wait, what? Huh? Like, how did you get here? And that's what makes the flaw, on the one hand, so obvious, but then also on the other hand, so hard to see because people are just like scratching their head. And you're like, well, how can you go from this to that? You can't. So that's the problem, and that's the answer.
Yeah, and it's like that's where you need to have the ego. Right, you've got to have the ego that, like, really, this is a pretty good LSAT lesson. You need to believe that you are capable of understanding everything you read.
Yeah,
because that's how I feel about the test. Is that I'm not going to not understand it.
Yeah,
including when they make a super bizarre argument that literally actually makes no sense. I read that and I go, well, it ain't me. It's not me that's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I understand what you said. And the thing is, what you said doesn't make sense. And the correct answer to that question actually is A. And it's and it kind of jumps off the page at you if you're willing to be so critical of the argument. Do you understand what I'm saying, Ben? Like you have to be, it takes the ego to even understand how terrible their argument is. I think
Yeah.
what 90% of students do is they read that question and they're just like, their head is spinning and they're like, wow, this one's really hard. I just don't, man. And
I
they
don't get
reread
it.
it maybe, and then they just go, I just don't get it. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but you're like one just hair away from, you're almost there. All you have to do is go the next step and go, well, this argument's bullshit because you assumed that the people with the tendency to laugh, the higher tendency to laugh, laughed less. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And if you can articulate, right, people stop at that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go the next step of it doesn't make sense because here's what doesn't make sense. And if you say here's what doesn't make sense, that turns out to be the answer.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that question for teaching purposes, even though it like completely blows people's minds. I mean, they just like don't. I think there are people who continue, no matter how many times I explain it, they continue to just be like, "Oh, I just don't get it. I just can't. I just don't."
Yeah.
That's a bummer because like that's not gonna work as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Sorry, Your Honor, I just don't understand this bit here. I don't. Okay, so then the other one I wanted to talk about on my list, we got 4 on the list here, is the one about dioxin in paper mills, the fish downstream recovering when the paper mill shut down. And basically all the evidence in the entire argument points to, it sure looks like the dioxin is what's doing this.
Yep.
And then they conclude, therefore, it wasn't the dioxin.
And you're like, huh?
Yeah, and it's got a very simple solution. Like, I mean, the solution to that question makes 1,000% sense.
Yeah, as soon as you point it out to people, they're like, oh.
Well, lots of times. I mean, I don't know. I've spent hours in class, over the years explaining that question to people. And a lot of times they still just get stuck. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
But it says it persists in the environment. And I'm like, I know, but it's in a stream and that shit washes downstream and the fish stay there. So it's no longer in their environment. It's a crazy question because it's like the answer is just hiding right in plain sight, right? It's just like, here it is. It's in a stream. That's the first thing they said was it's in a stream. And people just don't, they don't allow themselves to think around the premises, right? So there's a premise in that one that says the dioxin persists in the environment.
Yeah.
And people don't allow themselves to think around that enough to go, well, persists in the environment, but I mean, it's a stream. So it's going downstream.
Yeah. So it's going away. It still persists. That's not a false statement.
No, exactly. Yeah. You can allow the premise to be true, but you don't have to allow that conclusion to be true based on that premise because you can make the objection. Well, wait a second, it's in a stream. And that turns out to be the answer. Anyway, you got any more to add to our list?
Well, so I don't know if this one qualifies as weird, but it's one of my favorite LR questions ever. And I heard an interview, and I don't know where on earth I heard this interview, but it was with an LSAT test writer, and these writers are just contractors. But he said that this was his favorite LR question as well, and I couldn't, agree more. I think I jumped out of my seat. But it's the one, it's the snake one, the molting.
I don't know if I remember that one.
It's where the snake molts at a consistent rate, and it's a necessary assumption question. But the vast majority of people pick the sufficient assumption. And so it's a great question for like illustrating the difference between a necessary assumption and a sufficient assumption.
Okay, cool. I'll have to take a look at that. The snake molting one.
Yeah, I think it's in the 20s. I'm pretty sure about that, actually.
That brings us to the topic that you teased up front about the necessary assumption versus necessary condition.
Yeah. So
this is something that comes up in class, huh?
This is something that comes up in class, and I just wanted to take a moment to clarify what's going on here and try to clear some things up if possible. Okay, first of all, to get everybody up to speed, there are 2 different topics here that we're talking about. So the first topic is if-then statements. If-then statements are also known as conditional statements. If I go to the store, then I'll cry. That's an if-then statement. If-then statements can be premises in an argument. In other words, they can be used as evidence for a conclusion. They can be conclusions. Your conclusion could be, therefore, if I cry or if I go to the store, then I'm going to cry. By the way, an if-then statement, if it is in the argument, the entire thing will be a premise or a conclusion or something else. Sometimes I think people like to break up the if-then statement and make the if clause like a premise and the then clause a conclusion. No, the entire if-then statement is one thing or the other. An if-then statement can be just one claim in a set of facts, so it doesn't even have to be in an argument. But the point is that an if-then statement is a claim, and it's called a conditional statement. And the reason it's conditional is that we're not saying that I'm going to the store. We're not saying that I'm crying. We're just saying if I go to the store, then I'm going to cry. So if this one event happens, then this other event will happen.
Okay.
And if-then statements have two parts, right? They have the if clause and they have the then clause. And the if clause is called the sufficient condition, and the then clause is called the necessary condition. And I think we've talked about this a lot on the show, but the reason the if clause is called the sufficient condition is that it is enough to guarantee that the then clause will happen, right? The if-then statement is just telling you if the first thing happens, then the second thing will necessarily happen. And that's also why the then clause is called the necessary condition, because it's something that has to happen. And when I talk about if-then statements in class, I like to introduce these terms, in part because the LSAT uses those terms. I also like to ask people what thing is necessary when I say the if-then statement. Because people can diagram if-then statements, right? And a lot of LSAT books out there tell people how to do that. I've even shown people how to do that. But at the end of the day, if you can read an if-then statement and then just stop and say, okay, well, this is the thing that's necessary, and you know what necessary means, then I am more confident that you have an intuitive understanding of what that claim is trying to say than if you diagram it. And that intuitive understanding is going to help you avoid mistakes and so forth, right? And when if-then statements are presented without the traditional if-then, like if they're presented with only if or unless or things like that, I can ask people the same question. I can say, okay, well, here's a claim. I will buy your computer only if it is working. It's like, okay, what's the necessary thing? Is buying the computer necessary or is working necessary? And that wasn't a traditional if-then statement. It used the phrase only if. But it's something where people can start saying, oh, okay, I got you. Like, it has to be working. That's the necessary condition. So anyways, a lot of times when I'm talking about if-then statements, I'm talking about necessary and sufficient conditions. And those are just the two parts of the if-then statement. And then later in the class, when we start talking about necessary and sufficient assumption questions, which are two types of questions in logical reasoning, people start talking about necessary and sufficient conditions, these two parts of if-then statements. And it's like they're conflating the two ideas because we're throwing around the words necessary and sufficient. And I just wanted to point out that they're like two totally different topics. I mean, you're still dealing with the concepts of necessary and the concepts of sufficient, but like they're different. So
yeah, they're related, but you make yourself sound like a noob if you conflate the two. You make yourself sound in class like you don't know what you're talking about, which is fine. But yeah, I think maybe the important part is just that a necessary assumption doesn't have to have anything to do with conditional reasoning.
Yeah, it's like it's a premise that was left out of the argument.
Well, you
as
taught me
you
taught me to talk about it as if a necessary assumption. It's just which one does the author have to agree with?
Yeah.
And yeah, it might be a conditional statement. There can be a conditional statement that the author has to agree with.
Yep.
But it does not have to have anything to do with sufficient and necessary conditions when you're finding the necessary assumption or sufficient assumption of an argument, right?
Yep.
Necessary assumption is which one does the author have to agree with? Sufficient assumption is which one of these things will win the argument.
Yep.
And those don't have anything to do, necessarily don't have anything to do with sufficient and necessary conditions.
Yeah, which are parts of an if-then statement, which may or may not be an assumption in the argument or have anything to do with that, right?
Certainly can, but absolutely doesn't have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, just wanted to clear that stuff up. Do you want to take this next one, Pearls?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pearls versus Turds. This is the segment of the show where we take a bit of received, alleged, scare quotes, wisdom from the internet.
Okay.
And we talk about whether it's a pearl of wisdom or a turd.
Okay.
And spoiler, mostly they're turds. Right now the scoreboard is 5 pearls, 26 turds, and 12 ties. Says, hi, Ben and Nathan. Feel free to use my name and to read this on the show. This is my 3rd time writing you guys. I am a long-time listener, and while my LSAT journey is over, I intend to keep up with the show. Love that. With the demon and thinking LSAT...
Sorry, side note. What is it that these folks want to keep hearing, I wonder?
We're their buddies, dude. That's what people listen to podcasts for. Not like you, Ben. You're like a machine who only betters themselves, okay? You don't understand that most people listen to podcasts and they're only on social media or podcasts for entertainment 99% of the time. So these people that want to continue listening to the show, it's because they just like hanging out with us. That's why. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Micah, for telling me that you intend to keep up with the show. That's my favorite thing that people ever say to me. Okay. With the demon and thinking LSAT, I brought my score up from a diagnostic of 158 to a 174 on the October LSAT. Damn.
Is this the same guy who wrote it?
Yeah, right. That was another 174. Thanks to that score and a 4.05 LSAC GPA, I just received my first acceptance at NYU. And thanks in large part to you guys, have a great cycle to look forward to. Yeah, for all the people out there who are listening to this who are planning to take their November or January LSAT and then apply this cycle.
Yeah.
You're competing with Micah, who already is in at NYU.
Yep.
People need to apply earlier in the cycle. Good things happen when you apply earlier in the cycle. Like Micah already has his acceptance from NYU and is looking forward to, the avalanche of other acceptances that he's certain to get with his awesome credentials.
Speaking of this, I just got an email yesterday from someone who said, I heard Nathan say on the show all the time, or I hear Nathan say on the show all the time, if you're taking the test in January, wait until the next cycle. And he's like, why do I need to wait until the next cycle? And I felt like we've said this a lot, but apparently maybe we're just hitting the advice and not the rationale enough. But it's simply, if you apply later, your chances of acceptance go down and your chances of money go down. So even if you get in, you're not going to get as much money. I would say applying with a November LSAT score is fine, but when you start applying with a January LSAT score, that means you're looking at applying in early February. That's late. And so November is really the latest test you can take and reasonably apply. I mean, you can still apply to some of these janky schools with April LSAT score, right? But anyways, that's the reasoning.
Yep. I am planning on, Micah continues, I am planning on donating a little differently than some, since $10 per point over 170 seems like too little to me. Oh, this is that old thing of people pledging that they were going to donate $10 per point over 170 to the show.
This. Thank you.
I forgot about it too.
This is cool.
Yeah. Nah, it's ridiculous. You don't need to do that, but thank you. Instead,
everyone needs to do this.
Everyone. Ben's got 4 kids to support.
Yeah. Do you want me to feed them Aldi Cheerios or real Cheerios?
Instead, says Micah. I will donate $20 for each acceptance from schools in the top 5. What would you rather have, Ben? Do you want the $40 that you know for sure, or do you want the possibly upside of 100?
Well,
pretty good
given his
candidate.
GPA and LSAT score, I'd say let's go for the 100. Plus, it's a little more exciting, right? Like,
okay, so you do like the gamble part of it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So Micah says, my fingers are crossed for a $100 donation to you guys. Cool. Yeah, my fingers are crossed too.
Yeah.
Get Ben's kids some name brand Cheerios instead of the generic bullshit he's been having to feed them. Anyway, in other news, I ran across this blog while writing an optional essay, Why Pen, the optional Why Pen essay. And I thought a lot of the advice mimics that which you guys offer concerning personal statements and the like. Is it a pearl or is it a turd? Here is the link. All the best, Micah.
So the pearl and turd question today is like an entire blog post?
Apparently, yes. So I am now going to click on this link and I'm going to skim it.
Oh, it's not that long, actually.
All right, here it goes. It says, where is this? Is from accepted.com. Okay. It's got a lot of advertisements on this webpage.
It's boosting our confidence.
Yeah, this is making me think it's a turd just based on the number of ads that are on this page.
Oh, wait. This is written by Jessica. Should we say all this?
Jessica Pishko graduated with a JD from Harvard Law School and received an MFA from Columbia University. She spent 2 years guiding students through the medical school application process at Columbia's post-bac program and teaches writing at all levels.
That last part concerns me.
Well, that she's just not an LSAT at law school specialist.
No. Well, teaching writing at all levels, what, like second graders up to like lawyers?
Yeah. I mean, consulting people on the med school application process doesn't help either. Like, that's just not LSAT. It's not law school.
And she's writing about law schools. Are the optional law school essays optional? Okay.
She's obviously smart as shit. I mean, she got into Harvard Law School, so she, we can assume that she has a great LSAT score and great undergraduate GPA. Otherwise, she would not have been at Harvard Law. So she's a smart person. But let's see what she has to say about these law school optional essays. It says many law schools include their own optional essays. For example, the University of Penn Law School provides the following optional essay prompts. Describe how your background or experiences will enhance the diversity of the Penn law community. E.g., based on your culture, race, ethnicity, religion, blah, 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 blah. These are core strengths, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's just a typical diversity statement prompt.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it keeps mentioning Penn law. These qualities define Penn law. That's bullshit, by the way. It's a fucking 100% lie. Like every law school says that.
In the application.
Yeah. What? It's like, well, the truth is Penn law. Let's look at your actual racial breakdown. There's no way. It's like you're going to be white as shit is what the truth is. But anyway, what defines you? How do your goals and values match Penn Law's core strengths, which we just claimed are our core strengths?
Oh my gosh.
That looks like a pretty typical diversity prompt.
Yep.
The second one says, describe a time when, as a member of a team, you particularly excelled or were especially frustrated. What was your role within that team? What was the outcome? So that's not a typical prompt. Without reading the rest of this article, if I was serious about trying to get into Penn, I would definitely answer that second prompt.
Sure.
I would also answer the diversity statement if I had something reasonable to say about how I was actually going to add diversity.
Okay.
Are you on the same page?
I'm on the same page, although I just read a diversity statement from one of our clients.
Yeah, well, that one was Yeah, go ahead. Explain to the listeners why we decided to scrub that diversity statement.
Well, so the person was trying to show diversity through their international travel, but the way that it was written, it just kind of came across as privileged and kind of the opposite of what I think the message is that you're trying to convey to the school. So I said, hey, look, it's better. It's not like you shouldn't always do this, but in your case, this statement as it stands is probably going to hurt your application more than it's going to help it. So just don't do anything. Stay
Yeah.
neutral.
I mean, look at the beginning of this. They've got this long parentheses here with EG.
Which means for example.
Yeah, examples. But the examples, I mean, look, the first three are culture, race, ethnicity.
Yep.
Like, that's the first three: culture, race, and ethnicity.
Yep.
So you get a pretty good idea what they're going for.
Yep.
And then it goes religion, sexual orientation, gender identity. There's a bunch of other ones: ideology, age, socioeconomic status, academic background, employment, or personal experience. But I mean, look, they're looking for people who don't look like typical law school applicants. Right? So if you can say meaningful things about how your culture, race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity are different, then absolutely do it. But yeah, I mean, our client was like trying to talk about how he had traveled all around the world. And like, that's personal experience, I suppose. But it's not the type of personal experience that makes it look like you're, I don't know. You look like all the other rich white folks.
Yeah.
So anyway, and you agree with me though, Ben, the second one, this thing about the team?
If you don't have something to say here, then that's not a good sign.
Yeah, because you could even write about college with that. I mean, like if you've never been on a team, and it can be either particularly excelling or being especially frustrated.
And
by the way,
I would go with the excel.
Well, or go with the frustrated, but spin it into a win pretty quickly, right? Like we ran into this big problem and here's how we overcame it.
Yeah, I was frustrated, but this is what I did to solve the problem. Don't keep bitching and moaning.
No. Yeah. John just wasn't holding up his end of the team. And
I know what it's like to work with horrible people.
Yeah, exactly. If you know anything about me, you know I say fuck John because John doesn't do his work on his team. Yeah, no, not like that. Okay, so the blog post continues. Are these essays optional? ? Applicants often run out of steam or ideas and skip the essays, hoping that the word optional means opt out. It doesn't. If you want to get into a school, you should take every opportunity to tell the admissions committee something about yourself. After all, failure to respond to the essays sounds like you are saying that you have nothing interesting to tell them. Below are a few tips for making optional essays less painful.
Wait, hold up. So I am going to disagree with this just general advice because I feel like the test is a little more strategic. If you have something to say that's going to add to your personal statement and everything else in your application, 100% do it. If it's neutral or could hurt, I would say don't, because it's better. Like if you come in with 2 wins, a personal statement that's a win and then one optional essay that you can win at, they're going to walk away with you as a winner. If you have one personal statement and that's it, but it's a win, they're going to look at you as a winner. If you have one winner and then you come in with a personal statement that reveals, like, it's weird because I think a lot of times people write things that they think sound amazing and they have the exact opposite of their intended effect. And so you're like actually digging your hole and you don't even realize it. And you actually like dig it even deeper. You're like, and then
it's like when you include too many bullet points on your resume.
Yes.
You think that this sounds awesome, but when you put, that you were proficient in Microsoft Excel or whatever, it's like, wow, like if that's all you got, it makes it look worse.
It's better just to leave the 3 things where you were kicking ass.
It's totally good that you are proficient in Excel. It's just that that's so mundane that now it like undercuts everything else that you said on your resume. Yeah. But 90% I want to agree with this advice though, that like, I mean, that team one is a perfect example. Like, really? You can't come up with something good to say for that?
If you can't though, don't.
Okay, I'll agree. But I mean, I'll also follow on with like, well, then also maybe you're not a very good applicant.
dig deeper. Well, dig
Yeah.
deeper until you can find it, but then you really got to get advice of others because people sometimes you just don't know how they sound. So,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. Get your biggest asshole of a friend to read it for you, like the one who's going to tell you, dude, this makes you look like a douche.
Here's have you ever seen the show The 100?
No, I have not.
It's kind of a kid's show, but I watch it with my kids, and there's a character on there named John Murphy.
Okay.
He's if you know who I'm talking about, he's the perfect kind of friend to approach. This is the guy who's like just constantly tells you what he's thinking the second he thinks it.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you're an idiot," or "That plan's not going to work. We're all going to die." It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
You need
the
that.
perfect, like, honest, like, character. Now he's often wrong, but it doesn't matter. He's telling you what he thinks. He's not like gaming it. Anyways,
Okay. So number 1, short, 1-page, double-spaced limit. Don't exceed the limit. Yeah, that sounds good. Even sometimes they're a lot shorter than that, right? They'll be 250 words or something, or even 50 words. I've seen where they're just asking you a very simple question and they want a very straightforward answer.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely pay attention to those limits. Show, don't tell. The biggest mistake applicants make is responding to these questions without illustrating what they mean. In other words, give the reader some detail about what happened so that he or she can picture it. Yeah, I mean, we would give that advice in a different, like, we say, cut out all the conclusions and just say what happened.
yeah.
Leave it so that the reader
sentences.
can reach that same conclusion instead of you just forcing the conclusion. Don't repeat. It says, don't write about the same things you did for the personal essay or diversity statement. Examples can be from your own personal or professional experience. Yeah, there's definitely, we see that mistake all the time.
Sure.
Where people, like with our clients, right, where they wrote a personal statement about topic X, and then they're answering one of these optional prompts, and they're like going off again, like sometimes almost copying and pasting the exact same shit.
Yeah, they're like, do you realize the same person's going to read both of these?
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Reminding them? No, you don't need to do that. All right. I don't think we need to read this last paragraph. What do you think? You going to give this a pearl, give it a turd, give it a tie?
Okay, so the general thrust is, let's just assume that her general advice is try. She doesn't qualify her advice that you should take every opportunity to tell them about yourself. So I'm a little hesitant about that, so I'd say it's a tie.
Okay, I'll give it a tie. I'm leaning toward the pearl end of the spectrum, but you're right. I mean, if people just read this and say, no, optional essays are not optional,
Yeah.
then you're wrong. I mean, because even the diversity statement is definitely optional. If you're not going to be able to say something that moves the needle, then just don't say anything at all. It's best to let your other shit stand on its own.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll give her a tie for that.
Cool. Thanks, Micah.
Thanks, Micah. All right, you want to do this PSA?
Sure. Sean and Naomi write in to clarify that the writing sample does have spell check. Oh, well, that's an addition. Plus, here's some extra info from Naomi. You can also bold and italicize words as well as a few other options. Okay. Do not do that.
Do not do that. Do not use the bold and italics. Oh my God.
Okay. Also, they say that it can take up to 3 weeks to have your essay submitted once you finish it. So make sure to submit it early.
Oh my God.
What are they doing? It's text. It's not even graded.
Yeah. Like they could have done this in Google Docs.
Finishing up law school applications this week, and I've loved listening to the podcast as I've been applying. Thanks for all your help. Thank you, Naomi and Sean. We appreciate the tips. Oh, so here's the reason you don't want to use bold and italics, by the way. If you are writing an argument and you feel the need to do that, you're essentially, it's like all caps, you're screaming at your reader, and you probably just need to rephrase the sentence. The emphasis should be obvious from what you're writing, not from the format you're using.
I do it all the time when I'm writing explanations for the demon, but I also am intentionally yelling at you a lot when I'm writing the explanations for the demon. So also I'm a professional writer, so I can break rules. But generally speaking, bold and italics, like in personal statements,
Yeah.
No. You can rework that and say it. Yeah. Let the words speak for themselves.
Cool.
Bar passage PSA.
Yeah.
Hi. I've heard you guys mention a few times how the bar passage rates are no longer included on the 509 reports. Yeah. Because the ABA, I guess. I would love to know how they made that decision to not include the bar passage rates on the ABA 509 reports anymore.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that they are all compiled on this website along with the 509s and employment outcomes.
Ooh,
and this is a
cool.
link to ABA required disclosures.org/bar passage outcomes .aspx. We'll link to this in the show notes. Subscribe to our newsletter, by the way. You'll get the show notes in your email every week automatically.
I am keeping this link. Thank you. This is great. I've been here before, but I forgot about it.
Individual school bar passage reports. Well, let's just check in on old California Hastings, my alma mater.
Your favorite.
It's a PDF. Oh, we can't have this data available in like a spreadsheet.
Nope,
we have to have a PDF.
Easy to find. Oh, wait, hold on. You can download complete.
Ooh.
Oh, no, you see that? Bar passage. Oh, you can't do it for bar passage, but you can do it for the. Yeah, again, they're hiding the bar passage. So for employment outcomes and 509 reports, you can download all of them as a PDF. What is this? Maybe it's a. Anyways.
Hastings. This is a 2019 report. Ultimate bar passage rate for people who graduated in 2016. Number of graduates that calendar year, 304. Graduates who sat for a bar examination within 1 year of their date of graduation. It doesn't even have any data. Dude, the ABA, I mean, we've already pointed out a million errors in the 509 reports, right? Remember the thing of like the semester tuition versus year tuition?
Yeah.
The shit's sloppy. Like, this is not acceptable. Like, a lawyer would not. Why? What? Anyway, there's no data on what happened within 1 year of graduation. There's data here of graduates who sat for a bar examination within 2 years of their date of graduation. So including people who took it multiple times within those 2 years. So 248 of them eventually passed, which is 83%. Now there's 6 with no information. So, I mean, those people clearly didn't take it, didn't pass.
Yeah.
We can just put those in the fail. So whatever. So Hastings is looking at an 80% ultimate bar passage rate.
This is confusing too, the way they've written this.
It seems like it's intentionally confused. It's already hidden on some weird page on the ABA website that no one's ever going to go to. Then you have to download a PDF in order to look at the data. Here's the first time bar passage rate for 2018 graduates. 274 people. 61%. Oh, that's, by the way, in any jurisdiction. So for the California bar, it's going to be way lower. Nice. Oh, but there's not that many people. So here, details 2018. Almost all of those people took it in California. But as predicted, the California bar passage rate, 58%. The California bar is hard. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we move on? Yes.
We should, but 1 second. I am undetermined. I downloaded the employment data for all the law schools.
Oh, nice.
Employment start date deferred. I'm looking for unemployed seeking. Okay, here we go. This is the column. It's column AI, by the way, AI in this massive Excel sheet. I'm going to sort by this column, which is entitled unemployed seeking number. So this is the number of people who are unemployed and seeking a job for each law school.
Okay.
And I'm just curious. Let's see, where is it? Unemployed, seeking. Gosh, these things are seeking. There we go. Okay. Sort anything that looks like a number. Yes, of course. So who's the highest? So 68 people from the University of Western Michigan. And American University is third here. That's a local school with 40. What is it? AI. Hold on one sec. Sorry. With 49 people still looking for a job.
Nice.
I don't know what that means. So we'll have to do some percentages on this. We can mess with this data, but I'm curious about the outcomes. Of course, percentages are more interesting, but yeah, you can go find your school at this same link and see what their employment stats are.
Yeah, I'm looking at Hastings 2018 graduates, 277 graduates.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Number of them that are employed in a job that requires you to pass the bar.
Yep.
184.
Yeah.
Out of 277. That's like all you need to know. For real. Come on. You don't go to law school to not get a bar required job. If you do, you're dumb. I mean, it's the only purpose of going to law school.
Yeah.
So, but we have these other 32 people who have a JD Advantage job. I mean, that's like literally any job you can say is a JD Advantage job. Right? Wow.
Well, this is interesting, too. They tell us the first largest employment state, the second largest employment state, and third largest employment state for these schools. So you can go to your school and see what percentage of people are practicing locally versus
and look,
somewhere else.
And of course, California, for Hastings, it's like of the people who are employed, almost all of them are employed in California.
Yep.
5 people in DC and 5 people in New York. So yeah, like in other words, don't go across the country. If you want to work in New York, don't go to Hastings. That's the message there. Also, I mean, if you look at the employment type for these people, there's an awful lot of people working in small firms. You know, like that. So it's like of the people who did get jobs, they're not making a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, the only people on this chart who are making money are the 49 people who are working in firms of 500 or more lawyers.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe there's 2 people who are in a 250 plus, or there's 6 people who are in 100 plus. But those are the only lawyers that like make any money coming out of law school.
Oh man, this is cool too because it's got the public interest work and clerkships, federal clerkships. The number of people from your school that got federal clerkships. People ask about that all the time. Like, can I go to this school and get a federal clerkship? It's like, probably not. Well, here you can find the exact data. There's one person from your school.
Yeah, Hastings has 9.
9. Okay.
Out of a graduating class of 277, 9 of them got federal clerkships.
Yeah, and that's
It's like, it's possible, but you don't want to be paying a tuition there. Like if you're there on a scholarship, hey, get into Berkeley, but turn them down and go to Hastings on a full ride. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you're in a pretty good spot to get one of those big law jobs or one of those federal clerkships.
Yeah.
All right, should we move along?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Let's see. Dual law degrees. Hi, Ben and Nathan. I'm a corporate tax accountant, maybe? Yeah, with a bachelor's in finance and considering obtaining a law degree. Ideally, I will use a JD for M&A tax research and consulting. Okay, mergers and acquisitions.
Never say obtaining.
Wait, where did it say that? Oh, I'm considering obtaining a law degree. Yeah, that's interesting.
You could say getting.
Uh-huh. I'm looking at schools that offer taxation concentrations. The schools that offer dual MBA or MS in finance degrees are enticing. Will a full-time dual degree in law school be too overwhelming? Will it be better to wait and obtain an LLM?
I have no idea. My gut says real lawyers have an unlimited capacity for work. and these dual degree programs are there for a reason. I don't see why it would be too overwhelming. If you are convinced that a JD plus an MBA or a MS in finance is going to help you get the job you want in tax research and consulting, or mergers and acquisitions, tax research and consulting, whatever that is. I mean, here, let me back up a step. What job do you want? Does the lawyer who has this job, is it a lawyer who has this job, first of all? Because if not, you don't want a JD. If it is a lawyer who has this job, do they also have an MBA or an MS? Because if they don't, then you don't need any of this shit, right? You need one or the other.
Yeah.
Or neither, potentially. But if there is a lawyer that you know whose career you're trying to replicate, and they're recommending to you JD MBA or JD MS in finance or JD plus an LLM, then you should do what that person who you're trying to model your career after is recommending. Don't you
100%.
think?
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think my guess is that if you're going to be heavily involved with tax law, the LLM is going to be better or unnecessary. If you're like mainly consulting and you're helping businesses, then maybe the MBA will help. But my impression just generally of MBAs is that they're softer degrees than JDs, and anyone who has a JD can do what an MBA can do, but the reverse is not true.
How dare you insult my MBA? No, I agree 1,000%. Listen, I took tax law classes in law school, and that was after my MBA. My MBA did not do shit to help me understand my tax class. I mean, I had accounting classes even in my MBA, and I didn't learn anything in those accounting classes that helped me once I got to the JD tax law classes.
Yeah.
JD is so much more serious. It's a much more serious degree. I agree with you, Ben, 1,000%. Anything that an MBA can do, a JD can do, probably better.
You meant the other way. But,
no, anything that an MBA can do, a JD can do, probably better.
Yeah. Okay, I got it back.
Take it back. No, dude, totally. My first hypothesis is a JD trumps all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And that if you want to do tax stuff, you can just do a JD and then learn all the tax stuff that you need for your job.
Yep.
But yeah, maybe an LLM, maybe a master's in finance, probably not an MBA. Honestly, I think MBAs are meant to impress people who don't have MBAs. Like
there's something there. I mean, if you're gonna go like,
dude, it's signaling
down the business path.
All it is signaling. It's signaling to an employer that you had the wherewithal to take the GMAT, get a decent score, get into school, jump through all the stupid hoops that the school made you jump through. It's not like actual learning anything. I mean, now I take it back as it applies to what? Stanford, University of Chicago,
for sure.
A few other ones that are, MIT, that are like real MBA programs.
It's networking, right? Like you're getting involved with people who are similarly minded. So
dude,
it's
cocktail parties and PowerPoints. That's what it was for me. It was at Babson, which is not a bad law school, but it was cocktail parties and PowerPoints. That's what the MBA was. So yeah, they had classes in economics and accounting and all this other shit, but they were like so just so easy, like so superficial. My undergrad classes were way harder. My undergrad economics and accounting classes were way harder than my MBA accounting and economics classes.
Yeah.
So anyway, should we do this personal statement? Get out of here?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right. Dear Thinking LSAT, I am an avid listener of your show. I have written a personal statement trying to argue for my candidacy as a law student and future entertainment lawyer. And would love for you guys to point out the blind spots in my application. For context, I'm a British graduate of St. Andrews, 3.8 equivalent undergrad, 4.0 equivalent masters in English and comparative literature, respectively. Keep doing what you're doing to untangle the Gordian knot of law school admissions. Best wishes, D. D's British, so he went to a good school, so he knows what a Gordian knot is.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is draft number 2 of D's personal statement. Right off the bat, I like that it's pretty short.
Okay.
Maybe it just looks short because it's single space. There's one real long paragraph, which needs to be broken up into a couple. So D, your third paragraph here for sure needs to be chopped in half. Anyway, here it goes. The fall 2017 semester was ending as I settled in for another night of reading.
That's your first sentence?
Right. I mean, it's just the typical thing where everybody thinks they need to set it up way more than they need to set it up. Anyway, what were you reading? Let's get on with it. Tonight, Edward Louis, The End of Eddie. Ooh, and then a period outside the quotation mark. I wonder if that's a British thing.
That is a British thing.
Okay.
It's going to be different here in the U.S. You need to put commas, periods, exclamation points, and question marks inside your quotation marks. The only exception to that would be colons and semicolons go outside, and question marks and exclamation points do go outside if they're not part of the quotation.
Part of the quote, yeah. Okay. I was arguing that Louis' memoir could best be understood within the theoretical concept of queer time.
I have no idea what's going on.
I don't either. I thought you were reading something, first of all. So what do you mean you were arguing this? I had you sitting in a chair reading a book. Then you told me what book you're reading. And now you're saying I was arguing. I don't know. It just needs to be more straightforward. Like, what are you doing? What did you do? Then we got 2 spaces before the next sentence. So we want to clean up shit like that. Then it says, I felt like a scholarly detective, parsing out meanings and subtle argumentation, not to arrive at an objective standard of truth, but instead an expanded awareness of the text's mores.
Ugh.
That's a broken sentence, because not to arrive at an objective standard of truth, but instead, doesn't it need to say to arrive at an expanded awareness?
But not, sorry, I just got lost in the content. So you're talking about the parallelism right here, right?
Yeah,
but not to arrive.
Not to this, but
to
doesn't it need
that.
a to that?
Yeah, it does need a to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a broken sentence. Idea-wise, man, this is one of those very academic. I guess I could see law schools that focus on creating law professors liking this. But I mean, I'm only talking about Yale.
I hate this shit. I hate it. I'm sorry. It's you have some personal history coming here, but academics who use big words to talk about big ideas who really actually don't have big ideas. That stuff is a serious pet peeve for me. It's getting less serious as I get older, but
no, but really, the sentiment here, it is bullshit. The sentiment, I mean, basically D's message here is, I like ideas for their own sake, right? He's saying, he or she is saying, I don't want, I'm not trying to arrive at an objective standard of truth. I just want an expanded awareness.
Sweet, man.
Of what, yeah, right. It's you're not the lawyer. I mean, that's not a lawyer I'm going to hire. I want to fucking win, dude. I don't want, this isn't, I don't know. It's too hard to even understand. I think you're overestimating the intelligence of your reader, potentially. These people that work in these admissions offices are not always the sharpest tacks.
I would actually argue that this person is probably underestimating the intelligence of the reader. They're thinking that this stuff sounds impressive. Whereas I think if you're a sharp reader, you say, really?
Sounds like bullshit. Yeah. All right, going on. This is what I had come to enjoy in my studies the most, semicolon, the judgment and evaluation of literary texts / ideas.
Oh, dear God. Don't use a slash in your personal statement.
Yeah.
What the heck is going on?
Oh, yeah. Within a kaleidoscope of contexts, colon, national, generic, theoretical, etc., the abbreviated ETC, period. That sentence has so many problems.
What is going on?
I don't know.
This person majored in, hold up, English and comparative literature. Okay. I don't understand what schools are doing these days.
I don't either. Your semicolon privileges are revoked, D, because you did not use that properly. The second part is not a full sentence. You used a semicolon and a colon in the same sentence, which is real annoying. Wait, okay, so you're telling me about your feelings. You're telling me this is what you had come to enjoy. So this is what you like. What you like is the judgment and evaluation of literary texts and ideas within a kaleidoscope of contexts, national, generic, theoretical, etc. Boy, that is ultra broad. You could have just said all contexts or various contexts. Wait, what? Generic, national, generic, theoretical, etc. This is some shit that literally only professors care about.
Yeah.
Right? Generic contexts, the difference between a national context and a generic context or a theoretical context. It's so removed from the real world. I don't know. My own writing had become stronger as a result of this. Oh boy.
Do not say that.
Yeah, especially not when you're going to make a whole bunch of fucking writing errors. Comma, and so too had my aptitude for scholarship. So this is just purely telling.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not showing me that. You're just bragging now. I don't know if it's Louis or Lewis. I'm going to say Lewis because I keep annoying myself by saying Louis.
Hey, let's stop for half a second here. Can I recommend a book? It's called Style. The subtitle is Lessons in Clarity and Grace. It's by Joseph Williams.
Perfect.
It has low rankings on Amazon because apparently the binding is not good. But the book content itself, this is what changed my writing in college. And it basically talks about writing directly, clearly, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone really who's going to law school should read this book.
Yeah. Okay. Lewis was writing himself into being, comma. I don't know what the fuck that means.
I don't know. He didn't exist in his writing.
Dude, let's go back to something I said earlier about the reason why I'm the shit at LSAT logical reasoning is because when I read shit that doesn't make sense, it's not me. I don't assume that it's me. I just assume that it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about somebody I don't know. Am I supposed to know this person? I don't know this person. Writing himself into being. I mean, aside from the fact that it's not even about you, it's just nonsense. It's just, what is this?
I don't know.
Comma, historicizing his queerness, not as aberrant, but central to his personhood. M dash with spaces around it. If you're going to use an M dash, don't put spaces around it. A desire deeply personal to me. Okay, so now you're telling us that you're queer. That's fine. If you want that to be your personal statement, you can. You could also put it in a diversity statement. What I've learned about you so far is that you are an academic who maybe thinks too highly of his own writing abilities.
Yeah.
And identify as queer. Okay. Throughout my undergraduate and master's studies, I saw plurality and mutual influence as guiding principles, not only of my formal and personal educations, but also in my extracurricular activities and in my desire to pursue law.
I have no idea what was just said.
I don't either. Your sentences need to be way shorter and way more direct. I saw plurality and mutual influence as a guiding principle of blah, 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 and my... desire to pursue law. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, I don't. I found my flair as a producer of the African and Caribbean Society's, quote, Ubuntu 2018 inaugural charity fashion show, which aimed to exhibit the work of current Black, British, and African fashion designers through the lens of the Yoruba origin myth. Okay, I like it that you're doing a thing. I like it that you're producing a show. Theme-wise, this is the first thing that I'm actually interested in.
Yep.
But I don't want you to be finding your flair. I don't know what that means. I want to know what you did. Like, that's a conclusion. Yep. I found my flair. I produced is what that needs to say.
That would be so much more powerful.
Yes. As vice president, I successfully negotiated our budgets with the student union, as well as, don't ever say as well as.
Drop the word successfully.
Put and. Okay, let's rewrite this for him. As vice president, I negotiated our budgets with the student union and oversaw the creative and logistical aspects of the show, comma, as I had done with the Global Health Conference.
Keep in mind that's a rewritten version.
Yeah. As I had done with the Global Health Conference. This is the first we're hearing of the Global Health Conference, though. So I don't, like, am I supposed to know about that? I don't.
Oh, this is like name dropping.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, as I've done before.
Yeah. Yet it was the experience of leading the negotiations as the interlocutor for our society. Whoa. Wait a second. You were the vice president of the African and Caribbean Society. You were negotiating your budgets with the student union. And now the way you're going to describe that is the experience of leading the negotiations as the interlocutor for our society. Wait, interlocutor? Interlocutor, I think.
I'm going to play it. Yeah, interlocutor, which is apparently a person who takes part in a dialogue or conversation. In other words, a person.
Well, also, yeah, you said you negotiated. So you're not telling me anything new at all. You're telling me that you like to use fancy words. Okay, and now you're describing what it was like to be in these negotiations, balancing our creative desires and expectations with the union's stipulations and requirements that expanded the possibilities of what I could do as a lawyer. But you're not a lawyer. You mean it made you want to be a lawyer? Or the fact that you did this negotiation made you think, oh, I could do this type of work as a lawyer. That's what he means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a lot of words to get to that point.
You wouldn't say that. What you'd do is you'd say, I did this negotiation. We were able to secure this funding. Our next project was
yeah, because the reader goes, oh, you have negotiations experience. Great. That's a lawyer thing.
Yep.
Lawyers do that. Like, you don't need to tell the reader that lawyers do negotiations.
And if you want, you can say at the very end, you can say, I want to continue doing this kind of work. That's why I'm going to law school. Or I want to go to law school, or I'm going to law school because I want to continue this kind of work, period.
All right. Onward.
Makes sense. Yep.
Onward. This led me to consider entertainment law as a field whereby I might combine a passion for intellectual curiosity, though legal scholarship. I think you meant through legal scholarship. With practical applications in an evolving business landscape. It hurts.
It hurts.
You're just telling you again with the like bragging about intellectual curiosity. You're trying to tell the reader about that entertainment law has practical applications in an evolving business landscape. I mean, the reader is like rolling their eyes about like even the possibility of entertainment law. I think people should never mention entertainment law. I mean, I understand. Trust me, I live in Los Angeles. Okay, I know entertainment lawyers, but you need to be a lawyer first, and then if you end up having clients in entertainment, good. But you need to tell the reader that you want to be a lawyer. The legally salient issues. Oh my God. Okay, so now this is going to be a lecture about entertainment law, basically.
Oh my gosh. You are not an expert.
Holy shit. Okay. The legally salient issues of monopolistic distribution, IP ownership, and contract negotiation inflected the way I viewed creative production of film and TV content.
What the hell?
That's a weird use of inflected.
Inflected? Inflected.
Like an inflection point in a curve, right? Where it like changed the direction of the curve. But it's just, it's so high level. Like, where did monopolistic distribution actually, where the fuck did film and TV, where did that even, what? I thought you were producing a fashion show on campus.
Are you an expert in monopolies? Are you an expert in IP ownership? How about contract negotiation? Like, how about film and TV content? You have no authority talking about any of this.
No, I don't want to hear it. Well, okay. So now we do get, hold on. Let's read the rest of this paragraph here, because now we're going to get into where he actually has some experience. So this is interesting. Okay. Just as in my studies where literary texts and the theories they served as evidence for, what? Just as in my studies where literary texts and the theories they served as evidence for were constantly evolving, so too did I see a corollary in the practice of entertainment law and its intersections with changing business models, expanding international markets, and the market impacts of greater consumer choice.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of statements that we sometimes encounter where people like start to encounter ideas in their classes that kind of blow their minds a little bit, and they haven't wrestled with the ideas enough to realize that they're actually not that crazy or mind-blowing, but they've encountered them enough to still think that they are, and they want to talk about them. And because they think that it reveals like like they have that feeling, that moment of like, whoa, I'm kind of dealing with something that's, hard and difficult to understand, but I'm starting to get my mind wrapped around it. But once you actually get your mind wrapped around it, you're like, oh, this isn't that crazy.
It's kind of just listing a bunch of random things too. The second half of this is just like, changing business models and expanding international markets and the market impacts of greater consumer choice. Like,
what the hell?
What are you? Like, you're not a dude. You're a comp lit major. Like, I understand that was an insult, and you've done things since then, I'm sure. But at this point in the personal statement, you're a comp lit major. Like, you were just negotiating a deal on campus to put on a fashion show. You don't have authority in my book to be telling me about changing business models and international markets for film and TV content.
People who have been in the industry for their entire career and are in their 60s might get on a TV program and talk about one of these things and only one specific example of them.
Yeah. Okay. My subsequent experience working as a runner for Mammoth Screen in Bristol confirmed that my interest in film production was grounded not in the making of TV and film, but instead again, you need the interaction with the business of entertainment itself.
Ugh.
I mean, if you just flipped it, like, it needs to be more, you got to just say what you did first. This is coming in hot with like all of the big ideas and conclusions. And instead it needs to come in with like, I did this, and then I just saw this, and I worked on this project, and then I did this and this other thing, and I did this and that. And then maybe I will buy one or two of these conclusions, but not, man. All right, 2 paragraphs left. Therefore, in preparation for a career in the entertainment business as a protector and nurturer of creative IP, I am pursuing a JD. I am particularly interested in courses related to business law, intellectual property, and how the ever-evolving digital landscape and frontiers of technology will open up new spaces for the entertainment business and future deal negotiation therein. Your sentences are way too long here. That one earlier one had 49 words in it, which is just outrageous. You need to stick to like 25 or 30 words max, because it's like your readers are just not even going to be able to understand what you're talking about.
Am I wrong here? But I'm feeling like as an English major and a creative or comparative lit, is it master's or something? I can't remember. But is this sort of, with this sort of background or education, this guy has no business talking about IP, period.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I mean,
like most people who are pursuing IP law have and are required to have a degree in some science.
Yeah. Yeah. IP law. I mean, I took an IP law class in law school, and it barely, I mean, it didn't even talk about copyright hardly. You know, like IP is, in this context, it's copyright. Right? It's actually not IP. This is not IP law. IP law is like patents and trade secrets. You know, I don't know.
Ergo?
Yeah, this sentence starts with ergo. Ergo, Professor Stuart Brotman's, quote, entertainment and media law course and the entertainment law clinic make Harvard the ideal forum for my legal education.
You're applying to Harvard with this?
With a comparative focus on legal doctrine and practice within the entertainment field, I hope that my time at Harvard Law School will continue to hone my scholarship and fashion me into an effective legal professional. I do want to say one thing, Ben. If you have the right numbers, I think sometimes a big thing of bullshit like this might work anyway.
Like, I agree.
I mean,
sure. If you have the best numbers.
Well, he's claiming a 3.8 equivalent undergrad. Let's give him credit for that's an LSAT converted GPA.
Sure.
Got a master's degree in English and Comp Lit. Is clearly interested in academia. If he shows up with a 170 something at Harvard, I don't know. I could see them just letting him get away with all of this shit. Now, it's not what I would submit. And if you were a client, there's no way, like, we would be blowing this whole thing up and you'd be telling your story in a much more plain spoken fashion. Mm-hmm. There's better ways to make yourself look like an academic than like trying to drown them in academic nonsense, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the best academics are also clear spoken.
Clear communicators, yeah.
Yeah. You know, his email or her email,
his
not
or
bad.
her, yeah. Or
is not
whatever.
bad. I'm an avid listener of your show. I've written a personal statement trying to argue for my candidacy as a law student and future entertainment lawyer. I would stop there. It's getting a little too long. But anyways, I would love for you guys to point out the blind spots in my application. These are like you're talking to us as real people.
Yeah. And then
it's not great, but it's not bad.
Yeah. I don't like a personal statement that sounds like something that you copy pasted out of one of your papers that you wrote in college. And there's a lot of this that does sound like that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be talking about this Edward Lewis, whatever. What does that have to even do with any of this? Like, why did we start in the fall of 2017 semester settling in for another night of reading? What did that have to do with the fashion show? What did that have to do with your later working as a runner in TV and film?
Yeah.
You are here. I mean, you're definitely looking like a kid. You're purposely inviting us to think about you as someone 2 years younger than you actually are, right? Because you're placing us in the fall of 2017 semester while you're reading for one of your classes.
Yeah.
Instead of placing us in fall 2019 where you're like, have a job. boy, I would, if you're going to try to sell me on the idea of entertainment law, I don't want to hear any of the college stuff.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your job. All right. Should we wrap it up there? I got to go get on an airplane.
Let's do it. You can always join.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Join the Thinking LSAT podcast group on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram or Twitter at Thinking LSAT. Visit strategyprep.com for live classes in DC, foxlsat.com for live classes in LA and San Francisco. Our joint project is lsatdemon.com. You can study for the LSAT anywhere. That includes an AI-driven course that adapts to your skill level with lessons and practice problems, all the tests that you'll ever want.
We will explain every question on the LSAT for you. You will get an explanation from me and Ben for every question on the LSAT. It's the only way to get that.
That's right.
To be clear. Okay.
Yep. And if there's not an explanation there yet, we'll get it to you within, 2 days?
Yeah.
Like that?
I mean, it's funny because I don't want to shit on our own product. I love the AI aspect of it, but I want to make it clear that this is the only way that you get me and Ben explaining all of the questions to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can listen all sorts of ways. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, and our very own website, thinkinglsat.com. You can also buy shirts there, I believe. Leave us a review on iTunes. As always, thank you.
Let me say one more thing before you wrap it up. I just want to say thanks again to Dee for submitting their personal statement. And I want to say I'm sorry if, the tough love is too tough. You're a fan of the show, listener of the show, so I guess you know what you're getting yourself into. But I don't want you to think I'm being mean. I'm just trying to give you like my my honest reaction. But I do really appreciate you sending it in. So thank you.
Aw, Nathan's soft side.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not like an actual asshole.
I'm the actual asshole here.
Yeah, the truth is Ben is a total dick. And I'm like really a sweetheart.
All right. Well, that was episode 222 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing you. Don't pay for law school.